Hey hooligans, today we are talking about the Dragon Prince Season 6. So first of all, I didn't even realize it came out until I was browsing through Netflix and randomly stumbled upon it. So where's the advertising, Netflix? Where is it, huh? Also, it's so weird because Google isn't even updated. It fully says there's only 5 seasons. Like, what is going on? I love this show so much. I wish more people were watching this, and it certainly is not helping by the fact that there is like no marketing for this. I am glad that this show is one of the few shows that are coming out very consistently every single year. And you know what? This season is a great improvement from the last 2 seasons of the second saga of the Dragon Prince, which is the Mystery of Aaravos. This season feels a lot more focused, well, except for maybe like the mushroom episode. But besides that, everything kind of fell into place for what was going to happen at the final episode of the season. And even then, it still felt like there wasn't enough time this season. I've been saying that the biggest problem for this show is just how limited they are by the runtime, by the amount of episodes they are given. But at this point, obviously, it's not going to change, but it just felt like there wasn't enough. Another thing about this season is that it's way darker, especially because of Claudia and Viren's story, and I like it a lot more because it has this more adult tone to it. It's similar to how Avatar: The Last Airbender felt more dark in season 3. Also, it's interesting because this season's theme is all about truth, or at least bending the truth. For example, how one of the celestial elves was going to tell the truth to Callum, but then he realized the truth would absolutely ruin Callum, so he decided to actually avoid telling him the full tea. Another example of this is when Viren ultimately decided to not tell Soren about his childhood, because that honestly would be devastating. It would be absolutely traumatic. I'm glad he didn't tell Soren, let's just say that. And of course, Claudia, this whole season, is trying to seek out the truth, seek out the path, but you know, Aaravos is not exactly about telling the truth to people, so Claudia is just very, very confused. Also, because there are so many characters now in this world, of course they have to split up the group, which I wish they got more moments altogether, but I guess by splitting up the group, they each get more individualized moments. But the problem with splitting up the group and with them adventuring to different places is that I still don't understand the scale of Zadia. I think that was one of my biggest critiques from season 5, is that they go all over the world, but I have no idea how big or small Zadia is. I wish they would still include a map or something like how they did in Avatar, so it understands just relatively where we're traveling in the world. So now let's kind of talk about the characters themselves. So Callum and Rayla had their own adventure this season. I would say their arc is probably the least exciting of the bunch this season. That being said, they still had a lot going on, but I think I would have rather seen more from the other groups. So they start out the season by figuring out what to do with the pearl that is the prison of Aaravos. So Callum tells Rayla that there is this weapon that can destroy a Star Touch elf, and that is only kept by the celestial elves. So they go to, I guess, the North Pole or something. Again, I don't understand where they're traveling to, but it's revealed later on that Callum already knows that the chances of finding this weapon is very low, and he's mainly going so that they can find the crystals that they can use in a spell to restore Rayla's parents. So something about Callum this season, and maybe this entire Mystery of Aaravos arc, is that his own motivation is kind of just, what is his motivation in general? Everything he's doing is kind of tying back to Rayla. The reason why he used dark magic was because of Rayla. The reason why he went on this quest is because of Rayla. Like, what are his own goals and ambitions? You know, I feel like his character is kind of just completely tied to Rayla now. And you know, that makes him a good boyfriend, I suppose, especially now that their relationship is official, which I personally have never been that big of a fan of this ship. Good for them. I am happy for them. Clap, clap, clap. But, you know, I could have done without an official romantic relationship. Also, for some reason, the dialogue between Callum and Rayla was the most cringy out of all of the groups. I would say there were some other characters that also had really bad dialogue, but it's just really unfortunate because some of the topics and themes going on in the show are actually quite sophisticated. I think the writers of the show, similar to Avatar, have very, very good ideas, and even though it is technically for kids, they have very adult themes. And I would say the dialogue in Avatar was definitely better done than here. There's a lot of times where I'm just like, this feels like Peppa the Pig. Like, why is the dialogue so bad? But luckily, when there's actually like serious moments going on, the dialogue is usually better and more serious. So Rayla obviously has to make the decision of who to save because it turns out that there's only 2 working crystals, so she can't save her parents and Runan. And so she goes into the spirit world, I suppose, and she actually meets her parents and she gets an official goodbye. I don't know if they'll ever be able to come back or this is like symbolizing that they died for real, but she makes the decision to actually save Runan, and I think this is the only decision that does make sense. But that means there's still 1 more crystal left. So does that mean we're going to be able to bring someone else back? Maybe we'll bring back Aaravos' daughter, or maybe someone in the future, who knows. Okay, now let's talk about Janai and Amaya, our favorite lesbian couple. I actually am a big fan of their storyline. I wish they got more screen time, to be honest. I think their stuff going on is the most sophisticated because they are dealing with a civil war against Kareem. So Kareem's whole plan was to use the Sun Seed and restore Sol Regam's sight, but Sol Regam was like, I don't need to see, I just want to fly. And so they restore his wings. So Kareem thinks he can use Sol Regam as a weapon against Janai, but it turns out Sol Regam was actually manipulated by Aaravos to head to Katalis and kind of rain fire on Katalis, which that's lucky for Janai because her army would have been absolutely screwed, but obviously that's bad news for Ezran and the kingdom of Katalis. And speaking of Ezran, I don't even have him as like a main character of the season. He's really on the back burner, on the sidelines this season. He did not get that much to do besides trying to be a diplomat between Kareem and Janai. And then we see the last moment with him is that he learned that Katalis was under attack, and he's probably going to try to do something to help Katalis next season. I will say this whole conflict between Kareem and Janai was set up since season 5. It was like this build up, and then it was really anticlimactic that Sol Regam just kind of left immediately, and we don't really see how this conflict resolved. We just saw that obviously Janai won. I hope they do show us a little bit more of how they're going to resolve this conflict between Kareem. Is Janai going to show love and mercy to her brother? And perhaps Janai and Amaya will finally join the rest of the group against the battle with Aaravos next season, because they've been so largely having their own side plot this entire time that I hope they get to contribute to the main plot as well. Also, I just love Janai so much. She's a very complex character. Her whole story is about breaking tradition or figuring out what is old versus what is new. So for example, when she was getting married, that the tradition was you had to wait for the sun to be out to use the blessing of the sun, but she was like, you know what, let's just move on and let's just get married. Another example is her council all wears the masks, but obviously one of the council members betrayed her last season, so she's like, maybe we should take off our masks to show how we actually feel. So she's definitely okay with breaking traditions, and down to the point of marrying a human woman. You know, all of this is about breaking tradition, so it's very interesting. And speaking of their wedding, I am so glad that even though it almost got ruined, they decided to continue getting married. It was so cute. I actually did get a little bit emotional. I think it was the most heartfelt moment of the entire season. Also, this is a really big deal for animation. I personally can't name another animated series that shows a lesbian couple getting married. Let me know if there are some examples, but I feel like this is this is breaking the bounds of some things. Also, one more thing about Janai is that in season 5, they actually set up Janai having these nightmares about Aaravos. So I feel like she's connected to Aaravos somehow, but they never established that at all. They also had the corruption, like infection type of thing going on in Luxoria. There was no development there either, so they definitely didn't have that much screen time this season at all. They didn't resolve anything that was set up at the end of season 5, so I hope this all ties together by season 7. Okay, let's talk about Claudia. First of all, her haircut is so cute, such a welcome change to her appearance. And it's interesting that the opening credits are now changed to Claudia instead of Viren. So now it really shows that Claudia is going to be the main pawn of Aaravos. She's definitely another really, really interesting character. Her whole arc this season started with her using dark magic to bring back Viren back to life, and a spell like that definitely costs an arm and a leg, and in her case, literally a leg. And then when Viren comes back to life, he kind of sees the light, the path of goodness, and he decides to actually go back to Katalis to face his punishment. But this means he has to leave Claudia, and Claudia is absolutely distraught. She's traumatized. Now she has severe trust issues because everyone in her life decides to leave. And she decides to leave Terry at first because she doesn't want Terry to leave her. And you know what? Terry is such a simp, but he's such a sweetheart also. Like, the fact that he made a leg out of vines or wood or something like that for Claudia, that was so cute. How he gave her the haircut, washed her, everything. What a good character. And you know what? Claudia was fearful that Terry would leave her eventually, but maybe she should be fearful, because will Terry keep going along with Claudia even at the end of the season when she decides to join forces with Aaravos? Or is he going to be still a pure-hearted person and decide to betray Claudia for the greater good? But Claudia is just very, very lost. She has no idea what path to take. She's very confused. She was close to finding the path of good when she refused to use dark magic on the animals around her, but at the end of the season, she still listens to Aaravos and frees him because Aaravos actually reminds her of Viren, her father. So Claudia is obviously headed down a very dangerous, dark, destructive path. Come on, alliteration. So there's a possibility that she might die next season, but I feel like that would be very surprising if she actually does, because she's such a major character at this point of the show. Maybe she'll have to go through like a rehab era from dark magic, and maybe she'll become a real primal mage after that point. Also, another possibility is that maybe we'll see her mother appear, because we learn from Viren that her mother actually abandoned them because of all the circumstances. So maybe her mom will come back, and that will be something that Claudia will cling on to, a mother figure. Let's talk about Soren. I think this is definitely one of the better seasons for Soren. Last season, he was really, really annoying, making terrible jokes, but this season, he's actually a little bit more serious. We start off the season with him and... hold on, I have to look up his name. Corvus, I totally forgot his name. So him and Corvus go try to find Zim's mother, Zubeia, and they find the mushroom mage. And so we learn Zubeia is actually okay. She's healing from mushroom magic or whatever. I think this episode was pretty weak because it was the most side plot of the side plots. But Soren does bring back some magical mushrooms that they can use. I honestly thought what they were going to do with that is that they were going to feed the mushrooms, the tiny mushrooms, to Sol Regum and have him shrink to size so that they could defeat him, but nothing came out of the mushrooms. I wonder if they will use it later on. So Soren got some great development this season, even though it's kind of indirect from Viren. So Soren is actually a product of dark magic. He would not be alive if it weren't for Viren's use of dark magic, because he was really sick as a child. And this also explains why his mother left and why Viren was so cold to him growing up, because Viren blames Soren for the reason that the mother left. So for Soren's sake, for BB girl Soren, I'm glad that he didn't learn about his past, because honestly, he would be so broken, and I don't think he would have been able to be a leader when Sol Regum was attacking Catullus. And in that moment, it really does show that he's a great protector, a great leader, because he was prioritizing saving people's lives instead of staying there and battling. Now let's talk about his father, Viren, who is such an interesting character. I really liked him. I'm glad he was alive this season, although it does feel a bit cheated that he was brought to life and then killed off in the exact same season. And of course he was going to have a redemption arc, right? That's what was being set up last season. And of course he was going to die. I just didn't realize it was going to happen this season. I thought he was going to make it at least until the final season of the Mystery of Aaravos saga. It's also just so sad that he just treated Claudia so badly, and Claudia wanted to see him again, but he's dead. I do think the moment where he casted the spell to save the people of Catullus by making them immune to fire, that was a really cool moment for him. Although I will say, if this show were more realistic or more like Game of Thrones, he probably would have just gotten like a dead body and used their heart for the spell instead of using his own heart, because there's plenty of dead bodies there, okay? And now let's talk about Aaravos himself, big man Aaravos. Clearly, Aaravos is a master manipulator. He ended up manipulating Sol Regum. He ended up manipulating Callum in the beginning when he thought he was going to bring in the fake pearl and switch it out, but he did the opposite, where he actually kept the real pearl at Catullus and brought the candy pearl with him to the northern elves, I forgot what they're called, which was such a stupid decision because he knew he was manipulated by Aaravos, but so why would he risk himself going into the basement to switch out the pearls? I mean, that made no sense. He should have just taken up Rayla's offer to go down there with him, unless he was already manipulated in that moment. And in the end, we see that he's finally freed by Claudia, and he is huge. I know that's what she said, shut up. But he's definitely going to be a severe threat to everyone next season. And of course, we get a random backstory dump from him, where he had this daughter named Leola, who loved humanity and accidentally gave magic to the humans, which is illegal according to the Star Touch elves, so they decided to actually kill her off. And so now Aaravos wants to get revenge on humanity, I guess, instead of the actual council of Star Touch elves. I don't know, but maybe the story isn't even 100% true, because why is Aaravos telling Claudia 100% of the information? You know, I'm very sus about that. But you know what? Finally, we actually get a little bit of insight on the mystery of Aaravos, because 5-6 seasons in, we barely got any information about Aaravos. We're finally getting some, and I bet next season it'll be totally locked in. It's going to be Aaravos' last showing probably, so we're probably going to get all the mystery then. And speaking of next season, it is also called Dark, so I think we'll be seeing a lot of dark magic, and possibly maybe even see how the origins of dark magic came from, how humans discovered dark magic. But overall, this season was really strong. I think the best of the second saga so far, and I would give this season 4 out of 5 dragon eggs. But what did you guys think of this season? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And that's all I had for you guys today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hey hooligans, thanks for watching this review. If you enjoyed that, then make sure to check out some of these videos right now, including my season 5 review.